Hello. Today Road to GH will reveal on March 21st, 2025. Longtime viewers of General Hospital witnessed a powerful shift in Port Charles with the arrival of Daniel Cosgrove in the role of Councilman Ezra Boyle, a brand new character whose mere presence promises to upend the city's already fragile balance of power. Though his debut was brief, Ezra made an unforgettable impression, immediately sparking controversy and intrigue with his composed demeanor, cryptic glances, and a quiet intensity that suggested he was hiding far more than he let on. His every word was calculated, his gaze sharp, and his calm manner thinly veiled an underlying current of tension, leaving the audience to wonder whether he's a political reformer, a secret saboteur, or something far more dangerous. Yet behind the camera, Cosgrove's journey to this role is just as compelling and layered as the character he now embodies. Originally, Cosgrove hadn't even been in the running for the role of Ezra Boyle. At the beginning of the year, on New Year's Day to be exact, he received unexpected calls from his agent and manager, calls he initially thought might be the end of his acting journey. "I honestly assumed they were calling to drop me," he admitted with a laugh. Instead, they offered him an audition for General Hospital, specifically for the role of Jack Brennan. Although he hadn't been actively seeking a return to daytime TV, something about the opportunity intrigued him. He agreed to read for the role and ended up participating in a screen test with Laura Wright, his former co-star from Guiding Light, where he played Bill Lewis opposite her Cassie Lane. That reunion turned out to be the emotional trigger that reignited his passion for acting. Though the role of Brennan ultimately went to Chris McKenna, a decision Cosgrove fully respected, it opened the door to something even more exciting. Producers approached him with the idea of crafting a new character, someone mysterious and politically savvy, someone with influence and shadows to his name. That character became Ezra Boyle. Cosgrove was told little about Ezra at the time, only that he would be involved with powerful players in Port Charles and would likely stir up some serious conflict. He didn't hesitate to say yes. After spending time away from the industry during the 2023 actors' strike, and having settled into a more low-key life teaching acting and selling Jeeps, Cosgrove admitted he thought he was done with show business. But something about this offer reawakened a part of him he thought he'd buried. Stepping onto the set again felt like coming home. "I get to the studio hours early now," Cosgrove revealed. "And I don't mean to sound sentimental, but every single day feels like a gift." With gratitude and renewed purpose, he threw himself into the process. Though he worried at first that memorizing lines might be harder than it used to be, he discovered that his mind was still sharp and his passion even sharper. He practiced his lines in every imaginable way, including improvising and even singing them out loud. Ezra Boyle quickly became more than just a role. He became a part of Cosgrove's own rediscovery. As for Ezra himself, the character is as enigmatic as he is compelling. A well-dressed, soft-spoken councilman from the East Coast, Ezra arrived in Port Charles under the pretense of political reform, but it's clear he has a more complex agenda. He's been seen quietly aligning with Drew Quartermaine, possibly forming a strategic alliance, but he's also met with Mayor Laura Collins and shown an interest in the Quartermaine family. The details are murky, but that's exactly the point. Ezra is the kind of man who never reveals his hand until he's already won the game. There's a constant tension in every scene he appears in, like he's 2 moves ahead of everyone else. Is he here to help Port Charles or dismantle it from within? That's the question haunting every viewer and perhaps even the characters around him. Cosgrove's return to daytime also came with a pleasant surprise, a reunion with Cameron Matheson, Drew, whom he hadn't worked with since their days on All My Children in the 1990s. The two reminisced about their early careers, their youthful beginnings in Pine Valley, and how far they've come since then. "It felt like no time had passed at all," Cosgrove reflected. "Back then, we were in our 20s, just getting started. Now, we bring so much more life experience to our work. And honestly, it makes the connections on set even deeper." Though Cosgrove is currently based on the East Coast, he's fully embraced the bicoastal lifestyle required by this new opportunity. He doesn't view the travel as a burden. In fact, he's grateful. When I'm on set, I tell myself, this is exactly where I'm meant to be. This is what I was born to do. With age has come a greater appreciation for the relationships, laughter, and bonds formed on set, something Cosgrove admits he didn't fully understand when he was younger. Now, it's those human moments that he cherishes most. And while fans are still piecing together Ezra Boyle's true intentions, Cosgrove is already looking forward to what's next. Getting each new script is like flipping through a childhood Christmas catalog, he said with a smile. I can't wait to see what they're planning for Ezra. With a career revitalized, a mysterious character poised to shake up the foundations of Port Charles, and a renewed passion that radiates through every scene, Daniel Cosgrove's return to General Hospital is not just a comeback, it's a seismic shift. And as Ezra Boyle begins weaving his web of influence, one thing is certain, nothing in Port Charles will ever be the same again. At first, Daniel Cosgrove didn't leap at the opportunity. When the call came inviting him to audition for the role of Jack Brennan on General Hospital, he was hesitant. The role eventually went to Chris McKenna, but fate, as it often does in both life and soap operas, had other plans. Cosgrove was later invited to do a screen test with Laura Wright, his former co-star from Guiding Light, where they portrayed the beloved pair Bill Lewis and Cassie Lane. That reunion, simple on the surface, awakened something deep within him. There was an instant chemistry, a spark of familiarity that reignited his passion for acting. I never really imagined I'd come back, Cosgrove admitted. At that point in my life, I was content. I was teaching acting, selling Jeeps, and had quietly stepped away from the business. But reading with Laura, it triggered something visceral. It wasn't just nostalgia. It was as if the artist in me had been asleep, and suddenly, he woke up. I realized this was a moment I couldn't let pass. Ezra Boyle is not your typical daytime character. Crafted with layers of intellect, control, and secrecy, he's a veteran politician whose intentions are shrouded in ambiguity. He doesn't shout or make grand entrances. Instead, he slithers into Port Charles like smoke, his presence subtle but disarming. Every conversation is calculated, every smile holds double meanings, and every alliance he forms seems to come with a hidden clause. On the surface, he's a man of the people, professional, eloquent, and keen on reform. But viewers quickly realize there's something far more complex brewing beneath that polished facade. Ezra has already begun to move quietly through the power corridors of Port Charles, first aligning himself with Drew Quartermaine, then gaining an audience with Mayor Laura Collins, and now keeping a suspiciously close eye on the influential Quartermaine family. He doesn't come across as aggressive or domineering. Instead, he behaves like a strategist, placing his pieces methodically, as if playing a high-stakes chess match where only he knows the endgame. According to Cosgrove, Ezra is like an invisible hand, moving the political chess pieces while everyone else thinks they're in control. He comes with a purpose, but as the story unfolds, the audience will begin to realize his goal isn't just power, it's something far more personal and, perhaps, far more dangerous. Every subtle glance, every carefully chosen word, adds to the growing mystery around him. Is Ezra a reformer determined to clean up Port Charles, or is he a manipulator with a hidden vendetta? Could he be both? His ability to blend into both political and social circles while concealing his motives is what makes him not just a compelling character, but a potential game-changer for the entire show. Cosgrove's return to the screen with such a mysterious and high-stakes role isn't just a personal comeback, it's a defining moment for General Hospital. Ezra Boyle has only just arrived, but his presence already feels like the calm before a storm, a force waiting to disrupt the fragile alliances and long-standing traditions of Port Charles. And judging by Cosgrove's commitment and the electricity he brings to every scene, the audience is in for a ride where no one and nothing is safe from the shadows Ezra may cast. After spending several years away from the entertainment industry, Daniel Cosgrove's return to television is far more than just another role. It's a full-circle moment, a personal renaissance, and a declaration that passion doesn't fade with time. This comeback isn't merely about stepping into the shoes of a new character. It's about reclaiming something sacred that had been quietly resting within him. For Cosgrove, each moment on set is a renewal of purpose. "I get to the studio hours early just because I can't wait," he shared with unfiltered enthusiasm. "It's like being a kid again, counting down to Christmas morning. Every script, every scene feels like a small miracle. I never thought I'd experience this feeling again, but here I am, living it with fresh eyes and a grateful heart." That joy, however, came with a few initial doubts. After time away from the fast-paced, demanding environment of daytime television, Cosgrove quietly questioned whether he could still match the intensity of production, especially when it came to memorizing lines and navigating complex dialogue at the breakneck speed the genre requires. "I was worried," he admitted. "What if I'm slower now? What if I can't keep up?" But those fears were quickly dispelled. Within a few weeks, his instincts returned in full force, not only intact but enriched by years of life experience. He brought a maturity and emotional depth to his craft that hadn't existed when he was younger. His methods for internalizing the material had evolved. He now experiments with singing his lines, improvising them aloud, and finding creative ways to absorb the dialogue until it becomes second nature. The result is a portrayal of Ezra Boyle that feels effortless yet layered, as if Cosgrove is channeling the character rather than merely performing him. What has made the return even more special is the reconnection with familiar faces. Beyond reuniting with Laura Wright, Cosgrove has also reunited with longtime friend and former co-star Cameron Matheson, who now plays Drew Quartermain. Their bond dates back to the golden era of All My Children, when Cosgrove played Scott Chandler and Matheson portrayed Ryan Lavery. "It's surreal," Cosgrove reflected. "It feels like no time has passed. Even though it's been decades, we still fall into the same rhythm, the same laughter. We talk, we remember, we joke like we're still in our 20s, just getting started." Back in the late 90s, the two actors were part of a tight-knit ensemble that formed the heart of several pivotal storylines in Pine Valley. Their dynamic was a mix of friendship, competition, and youthful ambition, and now, decades later, they find themselves on a new stage, with new roles and new complexities, perhaps as allies, perhaps as rivals, depending on where the story leads. What's different now is the richness of their shared history and the respect that's come from longevity in an industry where few connections truly last. For Cosgrove, this reconnection is more than nostalgia. It's a reminder of how far he's come and how deeply the bonds of this profession can run. Every day on set reinforces his belief that this is exactly where he's meant to be. The long hours, the memorization, the emotional heavy lifting, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like home. And with the character of Ezra Boyle slowly beginning to stir up mystery and tension in General Hospital, there's an undeniable excitement building not only in Cosgrove, but in the audience. He's not just returning to the screen, he's bringing with him decades of skill, heart, and a revived sense of purpose that's turning what could have been a quiet comeback into a dramatic resurgence. Time may have passed, but for Daniel Cosgrove, age is merely a number. What truly matters is the fire still burning and the story he's only just begun to tell. What lies ahead for Ezra Boyle in Port Charles is still cloaked in shadows, but one thing is certain, he didn't come to town by accident, and his presence is already beginning to shift the delicate balance of power in ways that are both subtle and deeply unsettling. Though Daniel Cosgrove has only been filming for just over a month and a half, his immersion into the role is so seamless that Ezra feels like a figure who has always been lurking in the corners of Port Charles, quietly watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike or save. What makes Ezra so compelling is his ambiguity. Is he a trustworthy ally or a dangerous traitor? A reformer seeking justice or a disruptor sent to dismantle from within? These questions hang in the air every time he enters a room, his presence like a whisper of impending change. Ezra is not loud or forceful in his approach. Instead, he weaves his way through Port Charles's political and social landscape with deliberate precision. He's already begun engaging with key figures like Drew Quartermain, Mayor Laura Collins, and even the sharp and calculating Carly Spencer. And yet, none of these interactions feel casual. Each word he utters seems chosen with surgical care. Each alliance he forms appears to serve some greater, hidden purpose. Slowly, Ezra is planting seeds of doubt, testing loyalties, and stirring uncertainty in places long considered stable. It's as if he knows the town's secrets before the town even suspects him. The question remains, will he use that knowledge to expose the truth or to bury it even deeper? Cosgrove, fully aware of the narrative weight Ezra carries, finds his greatest joy not just in embodying the role, but in the relationships forged through it. What I love most right now, he shared candidly, isn't just the role itself, it's the relationships. With the cast, with the crew, and most importantly, with the audience. I feel this incredible connection, these moments of laughter and meaning that remind me why I fell in love with this work in the first place. It makes me feel like I'm exactly where I belong. There's a certain grounded gratitude in Cosgrove's voice, one that's been earned through time, distance, and reflection. He doesn't take this moment for granted, and neither should we. Ezra Boyle is more than a character. He's a catalyst, a quiet storm gathering momentum. He challenges assumptions, stirs tension, and has the potential to unearth secrets long buried beneath the polished facade of Port Charles's most powerful players. With a deep love for the craft and a character as richly complex as Ezra, Cosgrove is stepping into what may be one of the most defining roles of his career. And for the viewers of General Hospital, a new chapter is unfolding, one that promises power struggles, buried truths, and twists no one sees coming. Whatever Ezra Boyle's true intentions are, one thing is clear, Port Charles will never be the same again.